Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of our GIC TV live segments here for the Global Illumination Council. My name is Dr. Bernard Alvarez, and we are doing these monthly talks to touch on specific topics dealing with awakening, dealing with certain issues that you may be dealing with, as well as giving you the opportunity to send us some questions that we may be able to answer for you live here. As well, our members are able to log into the chat and to pose questions in the chat room. So if you are here live, by all means, feel free to post your questions in the chat room. Today, I have a very special guest joining me. This is our, well, let's see, it's our second GIC TV live broadcast in about 8 months, and this is our first time having a guest with us, and we will be bringing you more guests as the months come along. But today we have a very, very close friend of mine, especially here in the Global Illumination Council. She is a board, she's on the board of directors here for the GIC. As well, she is a stand-up comedian, an activist, and a fellow radio host on Revolution Radio. So let me just bring Tere Joyce into the conversation here, so she can say hello. Hi, Terry. How are you today?
Hi, Bernard. It's I'm very excited to be your. I didn't realize I was your first guest after 8 months on the GFOL TV. I'm so flattered. I'm thrilled.
Well, we're thrilled with you all the time. So thank you so much for doing this. As I said before, you know, due to technical difficulties, we weren't able to do this for a few months, and I just want to let everybody know. This is what your donations go for. The technical upgrades that we needed were put into place because of your donations. Now we are able to bring guests back onto our live broadcast. So thank you, everybody, for that. We're always trying to keep making things better and better around here. So let me start off with several questions that have already been posed to us. For those of you that do know about this broadcast, several of you have been emailing us or messaging us live questions for us to answer live. And I know this particular question is a very interesting one, because I know that I was very, how should I say, a fan of, and I know Terry was also a fan of, to a certain extent, the Galactic Federation of Light, okay?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the Galactic Federation of Light. The question was, if I myself believe that there is a Galactic Federation of Light, and what I had said in response to the person was that I do believe there is a Galactic Federation of Light, but I don't know that I trust the people that are channeling this particular information. So we can actually move this discussion into the idea of channeling, how realistic is it, how real is it. You know, we'll see where this conversation goes. We'll be here with you for a few, you know, for a little while here. So let's see where this discussion takes us. But Terry, I know you were a fan of the Galactic Federation of Light, as I was.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you now with the idea of the channelers that are channeling the Galactic Federation of Light, and is it a good thing? Are they a good thing? What have you seen with your experiences with them?
Well, when I first started to wake up, I was, you know, looking on YouTube and looking at different things, and I discovered the Galactic Federation of Light, and a lot of the things that were channeled resonated with me. They felt it felt good to hear them, because I hadn't heard such things before. But at the same time, as I began to mature and wake up even more, and then also even understanding what happens when you channel, and that sometimes it's not necessarily a pure channel, because it's filtered through the eyes of the person who's doing the channeling. As well as, you know, not really knowing exactly what entity is coming through and speaking on behalf of the Galactic Federation of Light, or whomever you think it is, right. Archangel Michael or whomever, that you kind of need to just sort of take it with a grain of salt in some ways. You know, not to think, well, to discredit it altogether, I basically I listen to, I just make an assumption of what I think is being said and what sounds true to me. But a lot of it, I'm really not. I really don't. I don't look into the Galactic Federation of Light so much as I used to, because I do feel that that it's not necessarily a pure channel.
Right.
Most of it's out there online.
Right. And I agree with everything that you're saying. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and take it a little bit further. Is that, of course, when I was going through my awakening process, and I was confused, and what's really going on. There's just so much information that we're bombarded with, because we're attracted to knowledge, we're attracted to truth, and the truth that we thought we knew in our personal lives, whether it be political truth or spiritual truth or religious truth, a lot of that gets skewed. And we start realizing, well, maybe I'm not really aligning with that spiritual truth anymore, or that religious doctrine, or that political, mainstream media truth that we were all fed our entire life. So we are looking for alternatives. And when I came across the Galactic Federation of Light, I will admit I kind of had probably the same reaction many other people had. It's like, oh, thank goodness there is help out there. Maybe someone
Yes.
can help us out here. We've created such a mess here. It would be so wonderful, to know that we have these malevolent beings, orbiting the galaxy or the hemisphere, or the planet, and that really want to help us evolve and whatnot. And I do believe that there are benevolent beings out there that want to help us evolve. I do believe, of course, in extraterrestrial and transdimensional civilizations that probably are either very taken by us or have taken us under their wing. And the reality of it is, I love what Stephen Greer said, that we're like the babies of the galaxy, and we have to, these other civilizations look at us, and it's like, well, they're still killing each other. We got to keep an eye on these guys, make sure they don't, get out of the galaxy, or get out of the solar system, because they might bring their destruction, and their mentality over our way. So that whole idea of like humanity is uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Not incubated. When there's a disease, you're put into kind of
Quarantine.
quarantine. I'm playing the pyramid game.
You're quarantined.
You're quarantined. But it's fair to say that any evolved civilization is probably going to look at us and say, okay, these guys still don't have, they're destroying their planet, they're destroying each other. So perhaps we are under a quarantine. When it comes to the Galactic Federation of Light, I will say this. Um, some of the channelers out there, especially prior to 2012, uh, were very much talking about that they're going to save us, that there's going to be this ascension. I've had many members on here, and I'm sure there's still members here. I don't know if you're watching, but members of the GIC, oh, I'm so excited. They're coming to land at the Super Bowl, or they're going to come land at the Olympics. Remember the Olympics one, where they were all going to land in the Olympic Stadium, and they were going to demand to speak to the leaders of the world and make an agreement for peace and whatnot. Well, that never happened. And that's the thing. There is a pattern of events that are going to happen that never happen. There's always these channelings of, and now we're moving through the fifth field of love and clarity, and you're going to be feeling this, and this is going to elevate the planet to this new form of harmony and love, and da 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 da. And it's just always that we're going through um, uh, this intangible prophecy, so to speak. I am, and I have become, I will say, I have become very much a realist. And I don't mean that in the sense that I don't follow my intuition. As many of you know, I am a well known psychic and intuitive. I do readings. I'll do readings for you, no problem. But as an intuitive and a psychic, I'm also a cynic.
Hmm.
As I've progressed on my path of awakening, I have been let down by so many false prophets, so many fake leaders, so many people who say they are one thing and turn out to be something else, that I've become very cynical. And that's not to say I'm negative, I'm just very discerning on what I accept as information. And I spoke about this earlier today on the radio show, but to bring it back to the Galactic Federation of Light, do I believe that they're out there? Yes, I do. I believe the Arcturians are out there. I believe the Greys are out there. I believe the Reptilians are out there. The you know, all of the so-called galactic races that are out there, either to help us or to harm us. Of course, I believe that there's that. But when it comes to accepting information that I will pull in to my reality and make it a part of me, I need to experience it, I need to trust it, and I need to know for sure, just like I would reference a news source, that the cross-referencing shows that this is real. Do I believe in channeling? Absolutely. I believe one of the only ones that I trust is Abraham, you know, and I know everyone knows who that Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks.
Yeah.
She is one of the few that have been very realistic. She doesn't talk about prophecies. She doesn't talk about saving the planet. She talks about you connecting with your source, and this is why we're here, and this is why we incarnated. And then, of course, my own experiences with the emissaries of Light One, which one is the entities that I would channel publicly, which I just do privately now, but my own personal entity and guide that I channel. So because I'm experiencing it, I will believe it. Because Esther Hicks is not giving false prophecies, I will believe it. So to go back to the question of the Galactic Federation of Light, yeah, they're there, they're great. I don't know who's the proper channel for it. I don't know who I trust for it. And I've kind of just put them on the back burner. I'm not really following the information much anymore. What about you, Tori? Are you following any of their channelings or anything like that anymore?
I don't follow them in terms of for information per se. I do have a friend of mine post some of the channeling on a group that I have on Facebook, and so every once in a while I tap into that and
Nice.
read it, and pick out certain parts that make sense to me. I'm very leery of anybody, even somebody who is, that a well-known person that maybe speaks on particular topics about what's going on in the world in terms of the New World Order or the Illuminati or, the reptilian races and this and that. Anybody who comes out and makes definite predictions about something happening definitely at this particular timeline, I'm a little bit suspect of. I'm just like, well, I don't know if I would have went that bold on it.
Right.
Because you do get let down a lot that maybe this is happening or not happening. It's just learning to trust your own intuition and having
Yeah.
your own discernment. Only you know what sounds right to you, and then just go from there. And also to trust that we have our own connection to our guides or our higher selves, or to fall into our to realize that we're connected,
Hmm.
and trust that as well as looking at the outside information that's coming towards us.
Very well said, and again, that's exactly what I would like to think we try to do here at GIC, is to teach you to channel your own higher self. You use your own guides, you use your own discernment. It's not about putting your faith in other people. It's about empowering yourself. So, it's great, and I thank our friend for offering this question for us to answer today. But I guess to wrap this topic up, is that, yeah, there probably is a Galactic Federation of Light. Is there a particular channel that I trust personally? No. Not at this point. Not until the Galactic Federation of Light contacts me. And you know what? If you're listening and you're watching Galactic Federation of Light, I'm more than willing to speak to you. So by all means, show yourself and make your presence known. I would love to be able to have some type of contact and dialogue. Anyway, so let's move on to another question, which is very profound, and it deals with those that are just waking up. And I received this email several days ago. I haven't had the opportunity to respond. So if you are watching today, I hope you're watching today. A newly awakened woman in, I believe it's the Midwest. So I want to say Ohio. Maybe I'm wrong. Had asked me, and this is a very common thing, and I think many of us go through it. I know my best friend went through it recently. That when we're going through the awakening process, we begin to acknowledge the corruption on the planet. We begin to acknowledge the global elite's power hold over society, whether you want to call it the Illuminati or you want to call it the reptilian agenda or the New World Order, whatever terminology works for you. But it's very overwhelming that we have this power structure that seems not to be working with humanity, but against humanity and for their individual needs. A lot of people freak out about that. I
Hmm.
know I did. I know I started having anxiety. I'm sure all of us get overwhelmed saying, you know, what do you mean? You're telling me the world I live in, my politicians don't work for me? All the leaders that I've trusted in the United Nations and the leaders of all the countries, they're doing it for selfish, gain. And that's a big smack in the face. That's a very, very big smack in the face. And I know when I first realized that, and my geopolitical awakening came through the whole 9/11 incident. And it was like, well, these people are really just here to make money and they really don't care about us. We're the pawns.
Hmm.
And I became very angry. I became one of the quote unquote angry truther for a year or two there. And after, moving through that angry truther aspect, it was like, well, you know what? I'm glad they're screwing up and I'm glad they're bringing it out to the public because now we know that they really are in it for themselves. So hopefully this will motivate humanity to move into a new way of living and a new paradigm. Terry, for me it was kind of simple. I just kind of switched the turn the switch off from anger to compassion, and this is just a step in the right direction. What happened with you when you had your awakening of, oh, geez, there's this like crazy Illuminati global elite that are really not working for me?
Yeah.
What was your reaction to it? How did you handle that overwhelming awareness?
There is an anxiety level to waking up. There is an anger level. I mean, even today, I've had some angry issues, or some frustrations, and I even feel that it's even worse now. It's because of the fact that things seem to be accelerating in the world. We have what is going on in Israel and Palestine, and then we have, situations happening in Russia and the Ukraine, and then we have our dollar dropping, and we have border issues that look like it's part of the, the UN and New World Order,
Right,
and
right.
all of that kind of stuff. And so people are feeling very unstable and very afraid right now. Even those who have been, like, let's say, in the truth movement, or they're woken up or whatever. I feel that there are even people around me that I would think would be strong at this point are having some real issues, panicking, feeling a sense of hopelessness, that we're in despair. People that feel that, oh, we're just going to be taken into FEMA camps right now, and martial law is going to be implemented on us, and all of this kind of craziness is going on, and it's difficult to stay balanced in that, because my theory is that a lot of, like, the anxiety and the fear and the definite attitude that this is what's going to happen to us, and we are going to be these robotic transhumanism beings on this planet, and the whole place is going to be enslaved kind of attitude, I feel, is permeating like a dark cloud. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
And sometimes, what's strange for me personally is I look at it and I go, well, Yeah, it looks like, I mean, obviously, it looks like that's the agenda. But just because some people or a group of elitists have had, thousands of centuries agenda to be at where they're at this point in human history, doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be our reality in the future. It's difficult to wake up and go, yeah, this is what's going on. But then at the same time, ask yourself, why do I know this now? Do I know it so that I can just be enslaved
Right.
and humanity is going to be doomed? Or do I know it because I can actually take an active role in creating this is the point where humanity jumps off of what they are, and we have a spiritual upliftment, and we find out what we're really capable of being, what the real truth is, and that we can come together and create the world that we actually really want to have and see, and to also take responsibility for that, realizing that we are a player in this, and that we
Yeah.
don't have to set in fear. And so, what is it that makes you change that energy? For me, this is what I work on. I listen to music that makes me happy. I make sure that I dance. I think about all of the love that I feel from my friends and for my family and for the planet and for the earth and for the animals. And I pet my kitty cat, and I work on finding some light and some bliss and some joy and some humor in all of it, to stay grounded, because it's not going to help to go crazy. The way that we can transmute energy, and it's that very fear. I mean, look, they're feeding off of our fear,
Oh yeah.
and the fear is perpetuating the reality in which we don't want to have in the first place.
I couldn't have said it better. Beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because I firmly I agree. And this takes us to our next question. We just got a live question here now in the chat about the use of disinformation. And I spoke about it earlier on the radio broadcast on how what we're thinking we're creating, it's our responsibility to take in the information, ground ourselves with that knowledge, but to take the initiative to create a better reality, create a better world for ourselves and the world around us. So everything that you just said makes complete sense. The um, the question is actually about the Galactic Federation, but I want to expand on it because it is about the idea that there's this information. Perhaps the Galactic Federation was hijacked by disinfo agents, and we seem to have a lot of disinfo within the quote unquote truth movement that it just wants to create more fear. I can't help but notice, and I wonder, and I don't think I've ever spoken of this publicly, maybe in private conversation, but publicly, I want to ask you what you think of this whole 2012 thing. Did you notice? Now, let's kind of create a scenario here.
Mhm.
We had all this build up to 2012. We had all this build up, whether it be through the Alex Joneses of the world, the Galactic Federation of Lights of the world, the Channelers of the world, the Truthers of the world. This build up, build up, build up, build up to December 21st, 2012, and neither positive nor negative happened. Nothing
Mhm.
happened. Nothing happened that day. So I can't help but notice. I noticed that after that, many of the people, I will say this, GIC interaction, the light workers disappeared, or a majority of them left. Nobody wanted to talk anymore. A lot of people that were in the movement of consciousness and of clarity, and even within the truth movement, disappeared. All of a sudden, it was almost as if someone had deflated their balloon of truth or something.
Yeah.
And the question reads: do you think that channelings, the GFOL channelings, were hijacked to spread disinfo to break the hearts of light workers? And I would like to expand that to say that is it fair to say that there was a lot of disinformation that removed the passion of many activists, truthers, light workers, starseeds, etc.? And are we now starting to see the ending of the end result of all this? What do you think, Terry? Have you seen that or?
I do feel that maybe there. I mean, I haven't noticed. See, I really didn't get into the thought that 2012 was going to be such a big huge change. I didn't
Good,
discredit the
me neither.
possibility of it. But my feeling was is that I still feel that a major shift took place,
Yeah.
and that we are actually seeing the effects of what that is right now. It just wasn't going to happen like in an instant, and all of a sudden we would be these ascended light bodies. It would have been great if that had happened, or if some of the claims of like the two sides of the worlds, shifting into the light beings and the not light beings and all this kind of stuff. I mean, like though, I would have been okay if that had happened, but it wasn't necessarily. I mean, I just put it in the interesting category, possibility. And so for myself personally, it didn't stop me from being in the moment of what's happening now, and still being a light worker and taking action in what's going on. There may, I mean, I think you probably know more than I do. Obviously, you're saying that there was a bunch of people that did get disappointed and left at that point in time. I feel that I sympathize, and I feel that it's unfortunate, and hopefully the people that were counting on something to happen in a more drastic way can come back and realize that they are serving a very important role in human history right now.
I agree. Yes, and it is important. People do need to realize that this is not about one moment in time, and the reality of it is this is not going to happen tomorrow, next week. These are about individual spiritual evolutionary paths. It's not about. Yes, it is a mass awakening. Yes, absolutely. But once this mass awakening begins to take root within our individual lives, we are going to evolve at our own personal level. And this whole idea of a golden age, if anybody knows anything about the timelines and the cycles of life, we're looking at another 1,000 years before we get to that quote unquote golden age. And if anything, this is a time of change. This is a time of awareness, a time of needing and the necessity to plant the seeds of a better tomorrow, to begin finally going back into that place where we begin to think about our future generations. What are we leaving for our future generations? Are we going to continue down the path of predatory capitalism that destroys the environment and causes war and famine and poverty? Is this what we want to leave the future? Is this the direction we want to go in? Or are we going to create new paradigms of thinking, of living economically, as a community, as a country, and as an individual? As we move along the path of spiritual evolution, we must remember it is an individual path, and it may not happen in your lifetime. It's very fair to say we are going to see wonderful things happen in our lifetime, but that whole end all, the whole world is ascended thing, it's going to be quite a while, realistically speaking. That's not to say that, hey, you know what, tomorrow the sun might just release this particular, solar flare, and all of a sudden our DNA has changed, and we've evolved. So, anything is possible. But the reality of it is while we're focusing on the ability that anything is possible, we also must continue to take responsibility for the day-to-day changes that are involved in creating the new paradigm. It's our responsibility. It's not up to the GFOL. It's not up to the Arcturians. It's not up to the white hats or the good guys of the Illuminati or the good guy angels or whatever. No. We are here to create that change, and that's what we must remember. It's our responsibility. Terry, we only have a couple more minutes, and we're gonna close out the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I posted something yesterday, and I just wanted to end on a positive note about the truth movement. And I know I said something a little harsh yesterday.
Yeah, I loved it.
I know a lot of people did, actually.
I'm feeling the same way. I'm having the same experience.
Basically, to paraphrase, I realized that it seems like the remnants of the truth movement, what's left of it, are basically right-wing, bigoted, Bible-thumping,
Yeah.
fear porn mongering people and
Hmm.
disinfo agents.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to touch on was that there seems to be a lot of the quote unquote leaders have evolved into greater places. And I would like to include myself, but I would like to say I want to acknowledge people like Luke Rakowski, who left the Alex Jones camp and is now doing inspirational talks in Berlin to tens of thousands of people. We've got even exposing the truth with Aaron over there, which I was a part of starting. They've moved on past all the conspiracy and all the fear porn, and they're about empowering humanity. And I feel that even Anonymous has moved into a nicer way of interacting with everybody. I think I saw a lot of the sites are saying now that uh, we forgive, but we don't forget. Instead of we never forgive and we never forget. They're like, we'll forgive, but we don't forget. I'm like, wow, even Anonymous is starting to forgive. So I just want to say that, things change, movements change, and we all evolve, and it's okay that GIC changes, that I change, that Terry changes, that David Icke changes, or whoever you consider a leader in these particular movements that we're all a part of. We're moving with the flow because it's what's called for. And I feel that those of us that are still clinging to old ideas about ourselves, old ideas about what we thought was real. A great example is our way of looking at the two-party system in the United States. Another great example is the way that we look at the whole, Israel's the good guy, Palestine's the bad guy. The whole way that we look at the United States is the good guy and we're going to save the world. It's not like that anymore. Things have changed. And we have got to stay current with the empowering energy, whatever that energy may be. And if there is injustice, if there is a chance for us to make humanity more, I don't want to say civil because that's a very relative term, but to help humanity move into a more compassionate way of being. I feel that this is what it's all about. It's not about yelling at your opposite or your shadow self, because it is our shadow self. I talked about this in the past when Jones used to yell at the Bilderberg group, "Ah, you scumbags!" Da, da, da. That ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna change anything. Yelling at the other side for being wrong is not going to work anymore. We're not there anymore. So keep evolving. Keep allowing yourself to evolve. Keep allowing your paradigm to shift. If you want to build a new paradigm, we have got to allow the old paradigm to slip away.
I agree with you.
What do you say, right? Let's let it all dissolve into the ethers, and let's jump and skip through the hills, holding our buckets of cannabis and rainbow flags, I kid, I kid.
Well,
Anyway,
there's some
go
radio
on.
show hosts that that's their MO is to be yelling and get on their rant and so you know
It's a gimmick.
bit of that too.
Yeah, it's a gimmick. It's not real,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Anyway, so thank you, Terry, so much for joining us. You're the first guest back here at GIC TV. I want to thank you for taking the time to spend this time with all of us. We actually went a little bit over, but thank you so much for being here. And
Thanks for having me.
it's
Thanks.
a pleasure. And let everybody know that Terry does have a wonderful profile here on the GIC, so if you want to contact her and say hello, by all means, friend her. Friend her on the GIC.org. And I now have a profile. I didn't have one before, so if you would like to contact me or Terry, you can find us here at the GIC.org at our particular profiles, and feel free to message us. And we will see you next month. Hopefully, we'll have another speaker or a guest come and join the conversation. In the meantime, feel free to send me or Terry your questions, and we'll make sure that they get brought here to the GIC TV live broadcast. Thank you, everybody. We love you very, very much. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.